Hey guys, Amy and Rachel here. We're going to lead you through a gentle lower back and core focus flow. So let's get started on our backs. You're going to lay all the way down in your supine position. Knees are going to pull into your chest. You're going to have the option to hug the knees in close, add some circles or some rocks right to left. You might get a little bit of popping and snapping in your back as you start to rock right to left. That is normal. Just allow the little movements to come and go as you start to connect to your breath. Take a few deep inhales and exhales while you're laying down here. You have the option to also set an intention for the class. An intention or a mantra as you continue rocking and pulling those knees right to left in circle, counterclockwise, clockwise. Allow yourself to repeat this intention at any point where you might feel overwhelmed or that you just don't really know where your mind is going. Come back to that intention. We're going to take those feet up towards the sky. Grab the outsides of the ankles or the feet. This is your happy baby pose, and from here continue those rocks right to left. You might start to roll super far onto one side. Use those abs to pull yourself back to center, grounding into the mat behind you, and allowing those knees to fall over right and left. You can take a few more deep breaths here as you start to warm up the abs and the lower back. So an important part of alleviating lower back pain is to actually get into the core. So we're going to start with a dead bug variation. Arms are going to come up towards the sky. You're going to press the ceiling away, and then we're going to extend our right leg. From here, you have the option to keep the shoulders on the ground or lift the shoulders off to get a little bit more into that core. That left knee is bent and the foot is flexed. From here, you're going to switch the feet, but keep the shoulders pressing, hands pressing towards the ceiling. So those toes are pulling towards you, you're pulling into your core, and we're switching, right leg's extending now. Then we'll pull this left knee in. So we have two more as we extend that right leg, the left knee pulls in, and then we'll take that right knee in, left leg pulls out. From here, we're going to keep that left leg extended. You're going to reach those hands towards the top of the room. Take a big inhale. On your exhale, we're going to release all the way back. Take that left hand towards the outside of your right knee. And now cross this right leg over. Try to keep this right shoulder on the ground as much as you can. We're going to take a full inhale here. And exhale, release. So we're going to start some rotations of our upper back, our thoracic spine. Take an inhale here, and on your exhale, your right arm's going to reach across the body. You're going to go beyond that left hand. So keep reaching as far as you can. And then from here, inhale, pull that right arm all the way back across the body. On your exhale, let's find that rotation again towards this left side. If you would like to add a breath the opposite way, taking your exhale as you open here, that is perfectly fine too. Just try to connect one full breath with each movement. You're going to take one more full rep here, opening through that right arm all the way out towards that right side. Using this left hand to pull that knee down. When you're ready, find that last rotation all the way across the body. From here, we're going to pull back to center and take that right knee back in towards your chest. And then left knee is going to meet that right. You might need to move those hips to come back to square yourself up on your mat. And then from here, we're going to extend those arms up overhead. Left knee is going to stay into chest. Right leg's going to extend. We're going to lift those shoulders off, pull into that core for 2 full breaths. Take a big inhale here. Exhale, keep that hold in the core. One more full inhale. And on your exhale, drop those shoulders. Right hand comes to the outside of that left knee. Lumbar twist for that left leg over to the right side. And then from here, we're going to start our thoracic rotations. Take a big inhale. On your exhale, use that left arm to reach across beyond that right leg. Inhale to find this rotation back over. Exhale to cross all the way back. Again, you have the option to switch your breath if you would like the exhale as you open here. That is fine as well. So we have these last 2 rotations. And from here, we're going to pull back to center. Both knees again come back into your chest. taking that lower back and fixating it on your mat, however is comfortable. Then we're going to lift the shoulders again off of the mat, and both knees are going to pull into chest, and then we're going to extend those feet towards the ground, plant those feet down, and take those arms by our sides. So we're going to start with the pelvis. We're all going to come to an anterior pelvic tilt. So you should be able to take your hand underneath your back and have a good sized arch in your back. From here, take a big inhale. On your exhale, I want you to reduce that space between your mat and your back. So now your abs are starting to engage, and then you're going to press energy through those feet as you start to lift that tailbone up towards the ceiling. Each vertebrae is going to peel off of the mat at a time. Now you have some tension in your hamstrings. You're squeezing those glutes at the top of your bridge pose. I want you to open through those shoulders, really engage those glutes. You're at full extension of those hips here. Take a big inhale at the top. On your exhale, think I'm punching you in the chest. You're going to pull each vertebrae back into the mat, one by one. Reattach. That lower back is going to come down before those hips. Once those hips drop into the mat, release back forward to your anterior pelvic tilt. You again have space between your mat and your back. We're going to do that again. So take a big inhale at your top range of motion here. And then you find that tuck position where those abs engage and those hips start to lift, peeling off each vertebrae at a time. You extend through those hips, you squeeze the glutes and open those shoulders at the top. From here, we take a big inhale. On our exhale, we release one vertebrae at a time, getting that thoracic spine to your lumbar, and then all the way back down. We're going to do it one more time through, this time adding the arms. So as we come forward with that anterior tilt, we take a big inhale. On our exhale, find that tuck under, and as that tailbone lifts up, we take those arms with it. As much as you can, extend those hips, squeeze those glutes, and then come to full shoulder flexion. If this is hard for you, you can open those arms slightly or you can keep them off the ground, but we're trying to get those arms fully towards the mat behind us. From here, we take an inhale at the top, and on our exhale, again, vertebrae by vertebrae, we come back down, getting that mid-back to lower back to reattach. And this is where I want you to hold that posterior pelvic tilt. The abs stay engaged, and as that lower back presses into the mat, we're going to lift our shoulders off and look ahead. Taking a big inhale, arms overhead here. Keep those abs engaged. And then exhale, we're going to crunch back up. We have 2 more of those. Inhale, we open those arms overhead. Exhale, crunch back up. And on this last one, extend that left leg out. Take a big inhale, still with those arms overhead. Exhale, we're going to come up to a seated position. Good. So now we're going to lower down nice and slow. Inhale on the way down. Keep that left leg extended. Exhale, we're going to pull back up. Option to take a little bend in this left knee as you lift, if that's easier. Or you can keep it extended the whole time. We have 2 more. Inhale on the way back. Use that core to pull. Exhale as you rise. Last one here. Inhale on this way back. Exhale on this lift back up. We're going to switch those feet. Ardha Navasana, our half boat pose. So the right comes to meet the left. We're pulling into our core. We're lifting through that chest. And then from here, we'll plant this left foot down. Nice and controlled. We extend that right leg. Take a big inhale on this way back, using that core to control your lower. And on your exhale, it's that deep transverse abs that's pulling yourself back up. Inhale on this way back. So you have the option again to just keep it into those abs, keeping that leg extended and not pulling that knee in. Or if it's a little bit more of a challenge to you to find that knee drive, we take an inhale on the way back, exhale, pull that knee nice and tall. Last one here, as you control that lower, using that core, inhale. Exhale on your way back up. Coming back one more time to our Ardha Navasana. We'll hold here. Again, rolling those shoulders down and back, trying to lift from that sternum, pulling into that core. Then we're going to take the bottoms of the feet together. Coming to our first Baddha Konasana, taking a big inhale, lengthening from that lower back. On your exhale, crown of the head comes forward. Taking a few deep inhales here, noticing where there might be tightness or imbalance in your hips. And allowing yourself to breathe through this pose. One more full breath here. And then from here, we're going to take this left leg and we're going to release it all the way behind us. We're coming into a double pigeon. We're going to give our hips a little bit of love and attention here. Option to take this right hand to a block for some support by your right side. What we're going to do is move into this left hip. So I'm going to try to get my glute all the way to the ground behind me. From there, I'm going to press my hip all the way forward to my full hip extension. So the movement is coming from the femur inside my ball and socket joint of this left hip. You might get some snaps, crackles, pops as you find your end range. So we're taking, again, this glute coming down to the ground as much as you can. And then from there, we're extending it back up, squeezing that glute at the top of the movement. We're going to add the T-spine with this, so getting more into our spine movements. This left elbow is going to reach behind us even as that glute finds its end range. Get the T-spine to go an inch further, and then as you extend that hip forward, you squeeze the glute, and then we reach beyond where we just were with that left hand. We have two more here, so we're pulling that left glute to the ground, getting that range of motion in our left hip, then getting this left arm to pull behind us. As we pull out of it, extend that hip, press through the glute, and reach beyond us. Last one here, finding our full breath with this end range of both the left glute and our T-spine. And then find that release back forward. Good, and then from here, we have the option to take this left hand down or towards a block on our left side. We're going to try a lift off of this left leg. So we're going to lift this left leg off and then back down. If you might feel a cramp in that left hip, you can stop, but we're going to try for 3 more. So we're lifting that full knee and ankle off of the ground, getting a little bit of strength. We're trying as much as we can to keep that chest lifted and not bring the chest forward to compensate by lifting up. If you can only get a centimeter off the ground, that is perfectly fine. And then from here, we can remove the block, and we're going to lift all the way up and rotate the hip forward. We're going to do that 2 more times. Now we're getting a little bit of strength through our range of motion here, so we can get strong glutes and lower back. That's going to help any of the pain and tightness in this area. So we're moving through this range of motion, finding this internal rotation, the inside of my knee, down to the ground on my way back. And then I lift as I did before, and then I externally rotate right away as I come forward, sit on both hips. Beautiful. And then we'll extend that left leg and right leg forward. We're going to come and sit onto our sits bones here, Paschimottanasana. This is our seated forward fold. You might have a slight bend in those knees to really lengthen through that lower back. We'll take a big inhale here, and on our exhale, reach those arms fully forward. Option to add any spinal twists or wiggles if you might need, feeling where you are in those hamstrings, lower back. Taking a full deep inhale here. And exhaling as you release forward. We're trying to lengthen as much as we can from our lower back before finding that full forward fold. And once you're ready, we'll start to make our way towards this left leg in and right leg back. So our double pigeon is now on the other side. So my left hip is fully planted into the mat. I might take the block again for some support on this left side to ground through this left hand. And now I'm taking my right hip. My glute's going to rotate down to the ground. And then I'll extend it all the way back up, finding that full hip extension with my glute squeezing at the top. So I release my hip down as far as I can get, and then rotating it all the way back open to squeeze that glute. 2 more full rotations before we add our thoracic rotation with it. And if you're finding any trouble here, play with where your knees are placed. So if you have a greater degree of extension with that hip to start or flexion, it's my right knee that I'll play with where it's facing and planted. That can have a significant role in how much range of motion you're getting into that hip joint. So then from here, we'll add this thoracic rotation. So we're reaching this left Sorry, right elbow all the way back as my glute hits the ground. I continue rotating my spine. Then I start with this rotation out of it, again coming to full hip extension, and now reaching beyond for that thoracic rotation. Awesome. Still connecting to that breath, using that breath as we go through our full range of motion. It's a good reminder that every exhale will get you a little bit deeper into that end range position. So as you move through, you might find an inhale. If you find yourself holding and not being able to get that last little bit, that's when you find your full exhale. So then from here, we'll find this lift. You have the option to grab this right block for some support with that left hand. We're going to find a lift with that right leg. So both knee and ankle are trying to lift off the ground and release back down. We have a 2-second hold. So if we want to push with our hands, we can. We find that lift, 1002. Release back down. You have 2 more. 4 in total. If we want to try and challenge ourselves getting our hands off of the ground to heart center, we can do that as well. And so again, this is just trying to get that full hip and glute connection through that strength range. And now we're fully going to add that range of motion, same idea, with this external rotation towards the front of the room. And then we internally rotate on our way back. Again, left hand is in that block if we need. We're trying to keep this left side body lengthened as much as we can without compensating and sinking down into it. As we find this internal rotation back, I stay lifting out of this left side, not collapsing into it. So I think this is our last one here. Awesome. Whew. And then we'll take ourselves back center. Super strong hips. We love that. Nice. So one more Paschimottanasana, finding our balance here. We take a big inhale overhead. Exhale on this full forward fold. To get a little bit more sensation, you might try to pull those pinky toes towards you as you flex those feet. Heels are towards the front of the room. Final deep breath here. Then we're going to try for our Baddha Konasana. Again, after we did some hip rotations and movements, you might feel you're able to just release a little bit deeper. And if this is still pretty tight and hard for you, I want you to add some sensory input. So you might start to squeeze around the hips. You might try to lift the glute off and start to rub and maybe tap. This is adding some sensory input into the area of your body to kind of light up that area in your brain, mapping that this is where you want the connection to go to. So then you might try to move the hips right to left, get a little front to back. Just bring more awareness and attention into our hips in this area. And then again, we can retest with this forward fold. Taking a big inhale as you lengthen through that spine, and then exhale as you release a little bit deeper into the pose. Trying to lead with the crown of the head as the tailbone is leading towards the opposite end of our mat. This is a great recovery flow for the end of your day, post-workout, before bed, anytime where you're trying to just get some deep release into those hips, relieve some low back tension and tightness, and just bring awareness back into your body. So we're going to try pigeon on both legs. Full pigeon is where we have an extension of that back leg. So we'll start with this right leg behind us. You might need to plant those hands down to shift yourself onto that right knee. If you want to take a block underneath this left hip, if you're super far off the ground, you can. Or we can use those blocks in the front as we come down onto our forearms. You have the option to keep that chest lifted throughout this pose. And if you need a little bit deeper, we can tuck that right toe under and pull the knee away from us. As much as you can, we're trying to lengthen through that left outer glute, by getting that right hip to face into the mat. We have a laser beam on our right hip. It's fully directing into the mat. And allow yourself to take a few deep inhales and exhales here. Coming back to that mantra or intention you had set originally. And allowing yourself to find the time to repeat those positive thoughts to yourself here. Before we pull out of this, we're going to take 4 knee extensions of our back legs. We're going to tuck our right toes under. Keeping the level of our hips where they're at, we're going to press the toes into the ground and pull the knee off 1,002, and then release back down. So the back of your knee is pressing up into the ceiling for 2 full counts, then we release back down. So you have a 1,002 extension and release. You have 1 more rep here, so 4 full reps in total. And as we come down, we're going to plant those hands. We're going to try to transition into our downward facing dogs. We're actually going to tuck those right toes back under and press out of those shoulders. So push towards the ceiling as we lift this left knee off the ground. Step that left foot to meet the right and send those hips back. Pressing those heels into the back of your mat. Adho Mukha Shavasana, downward facing dog. You might pedal one foot and the other, or keep both feet on the ground as you shift through those hips. Taking a big inhale at the top of your movement here. And on your exhale, we're going to come forward to get that right knee towards your right wrist. Dropping that right ankle wherever it's comfortable, keeping that left hip on the ground, and using that left toe to then pull the knee back behind us. We're taking a big inhale as we lengthen through the spine here, and exhale to either take our hands onto the block in front of us, lower into the mat, and release through our exhales here. Again, that left hip is facing into the mat as we lengthen through that outer right glute. A lot of low back tension and tightness comes from really tight glutes and overused glutes without adding any stretching or strengthening through range of motion. Beyond just doing these stretches, it's good to get some release into the glutes. So taking a lacrosse ball or tennis ball and kind of just sitting on the ball, releasing into the glutes, helps release. Doing these poses again at the end of the day is a really nice way to relax, come back to yourself in this present moment. And as you find your last few inhales and exhales, we're going to tuck the left toes under and come to our full knee extension. So we take a full inhale as you press the back of the knee towards the ceiling, and then exhale to release back down. Trying to keep that left hip squared into the mat, you extend 1,002. And release. We have 1 more here. Pressing up. Maybe 1 more after this, actually.
4.
There's 4. Love counting. Nice. And again, we'll find our downward facing dog, planting those hands, tucking those left toes under, pulling into the core, out of those shoulder blades towards the ceiling, stepping that right foot back to meet the left. Walking it out, right to left. And take a big spinal roll here. So we're starting with those ankles lifting up off of the mat and then taking our vertebrae by vertebrae up towards the front of the room. I'm in this super high plank here. My abs are engaged. I'm going to bend the knees, keep my arms nice and strong, and push back towards my heels. Do that 2 more times. Go at your own pace. Big inhales. Use spinal wave all the way forward. Exhale as we release back. Last one here. Walking it out right to left, left to right. You have the option to finish or flow here or end with our final pose. We're going to take those feet forward and sit back onto our hips. We're going to release all the way down into the mat here. The final pose is going to be done at your own timing. So it's an assisted bridge pose. We're coming back onto our backs. Our feet are planted. Our knees are up towards the ceiling. We're going to take the block underneath our hips. It's important here to try to find the block at the tailbone only and not where the start of your lumbar spine starts. So as just the tailbone is on this, you'll feel the release in the top of your hips start to sink down towards the mat. You might press those hands down to open those shoulders, create more space in your shoulder blades. You have the option to open those arms and palms towards the ceiling to invite some good energy back into your body. And if you start to feel a tilt forward into the pelvis, which actually might cause more tension than we want into our lower back, use that block and move it a little bit further down. So again, just the tailbone is on it here. So once you find that comfortable space, allow yourself to fully release. Connect back to your breath. And allow yourself to fully take this moment for yourself. Rachel likes to remind her students that your piriformis here is actually not working. It's one of our muscles that really helps to stabilize the hips, connecting our upper and lower bodies as we hold ourselves up in just about every position we go through in life. Right here, they're being allowed to not activate. So we really allow this release of our lumbar spine and our lower back. And as you stay here, repeating your intention, stay connecting to your breath. And again, you have the option to hold this for as long as you please. Taking those legs up into the air if you like, or holding onto the position you're at. I thank you all for taking this time to flow with us here. You have the option to, again, stay in this pose. Release the blocks, knees to chest, just like we started with. Whatever feels good in these last few moments on your mat. Thank you all. Peace, love, athletic mobility.
That was wonderful.